Good morning and we're welcome to today's presentation here at Erik Penser Banks with Sivers Semiconductors. Anders Storm, CEO of the company, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Anders Storm. I'm the Group CEO of Sivers Semiconductors, and I'm going to take you through the company short here today and what we're doing. So first of all, we are a semiconductor company with two different business units. One is within wireless and one within photonics. The company is about 140 people today, and we have a very high education level of people. We have 42 PhDs and a lot of MSCs in the company. The head office is here in Stockholm. We are providing 5G SATCOM circuits as well as photonic circuits for Fortune 100 customers and others. Also, we have a quite wide range of investors, with everything ranging from institutional investors, which is Swedbank, AMF, the Third AP Fund, and so forth, as well as a lot of private investors, about 20,000 of them. So what's our focus? We are providing the technology for the convergence of huge mega trends. So one is, of course, 5G and so forth with high-speed broadband and from SATCOM, autonomous driving with LiDAR type of applications or radars. We're providing silicon photonics for different sensors and application for the next generation metaverse and that kind of stuff. We also have solutions for augmented reality and health monitoring and that kind of things within what we're doing. So what have the company been doing over the last couple of years? And this is a sort of a turnaround case. And when I started as the CEO in 2016, we have a turnover of 18 million. The company grew quite well. Then we hit the pandemic, unfortunately, and it's been around 100 million for a couple of years. However, now in Q1, we started growing again, and we grow about 100% in top line to about 30 million SEK almost. And we also improved on our EBITDA and so forth. So we are now in an interesting growth phase. And if we look at the two different segments, it was the wireless segment that grew the most, 244%. And also the photonics segment grew by 54% on top line. If we're looking at our markets, the US and the North America is the absolutely most important market for us. Almost 70%. That's why we now recently also acquired a company called Mixcom in the US with about 20 employees and get our foots on the ground there, which is very important for us in the future. And it's sort of a transformative acquisition for us. And we also acquired companies, but there is a market in this which has a fundamental organic growth ahead of itself. So, for example, here's a few markets within the wireless business. One is the fixed wireless access or broadband to the home, where we have a lot of design wins for the company. We have 43 design wins within sort of the 5G business or the fixed wireless access and a lot of different ones. In the photonics market, where we've sort of more diversified on different things, the market is growing something like 28 to 80% depending on vertical. And those are the verticals of LiDAR and for self-driving cars, it's verticals like data centers and optical I/O and so forth. If we focus a bit on the wireless business, we have today 43 design wins. We are designing our own chipsets and packaging and making modules out of these, and they can be used in many different areas. Currently, we are a fabless company within our wireless business, while we have a fab in our photonics business in Glasgow. Also, with the acquisition of Mixcom, on top of all the 5G, we're also adding SATCOM, different sort of 5G repeaters and algorithms and software in some sense to improve on these technologies as well, which is very interesting, and we have got some really good customers in the SATCOM business. The way we've been building the sort of wireless business is via the ecosystem, as well as the photonics business lately within the partnerships of CW, VDMA. And we have a lot of partners now in components around us to build sort of the technology, and there is a lot of customers there that are sort of blue chip companies like Renesas, NXP, Xilinx, and so forth. Please check our homepage for the different press releases over time. Also adding MixComm to the mix, we're actually in some innovation labs now, like Open Innovation Lab with T-Mobile and so forth in the US, which is quite important. And also a very important partner, Global Foundries. This is now a shareholder via the acquisition of MixComm, and that is sort of the fundamental technology to do the chipsets, and they have the foundry, and we are sort of fabless in that sense. Looking at all the different design wins here, we have 10 design win customers today that have 20 ready hardwares that is rolling out, and some of that we could see growing in Q1. We're foreseeing more growth in the second half, actually, due to the component issues in the market. But there's a lot of technology now that is coming out to the market. On top of that, we also have SATCOM customers and a Tier 1 customer now we're expecting from MixComm to start delivering more. If we look at the Photonics business, that is sort of a different chipsets. We have what's called 3-5 compound semiconductors, and that is lasers within using indium phosphide, gallium arsenide, or gallium nitride. This is used in datacom application and sensor applications mostly. And here is sort of the three main parts we're working in now with the indium phosphide 100 platform, which we have had a lot of design wins over the last couple of years. And this is sort of a new platform that has been created since we actually acquired the CS3 Global in 2017. So we have everything from optical communication that is within the data center, but also with this very new interesting market with AR labs, which is optical I/O between the CPUs in the computer. The optical sensing, which we won an order today, I'll tell you more about that. We have several customers there, and also in LiDAR, where we also have customers for autonomous driving and the future of cars. So all of these are interesting growth markets. The overall total addressable market is over 5 billion for just the chips. And of course, we're not close to that today, but there is a very interesting market, and we've sort of added a lot of large customers lately because we have a platform in indium phosphide, which is quite interesting. So the breaking news this morning, we won a new Photonics customer, and this is a Fortune 100 customer. And a Fortune 100, for you who doesn't know, is the 100 largest customers or companies in the US. And this is the third one we're winning now. The first one we got in 2018, the second one in 2020, and now the third one in 2022. This is an order of plus $600,000. This is for light sources. They are customized, and it's actually not just one source. It's different wavelengths that can be used within a very interesting application that's coming in the future, which is more consumer near, so to speak. We really believe that this could be something interesting, and maybe not sort of the 4-year project. This is more of a work to get into the next generation product that they are building. And this is, of course, then a US-based customer. So looking at those Fortune 100 companies we're talking about, we have been working with the first one now for quite some time. They have invested more than $12 million over 3 years, and we're still not in the volume phase. We expect more sort of NRE getting in this year. The second company has been working since 2020. We haven't seen some movement. That's in the research phase, but we've seen some starting discussions now for the next phase, and hopefully we can see more from them also in the future. And now then adding the third one today, which is quite great. And then we have more discussions with other Fortune 100s in the US as well. Just to mention one of the most exciting sort of, let's say, smaller customers as well, it's AR Labs. It's one of the most cool startups, I would say, in California today. They just recently received, 3 weeks ago, $130 million from companies like Intel, NVIDIA, HP, to do the next generation computer communication. They are changing the way we communicate within the computer from electricity to light, and we are going to be one of the companies providing light sources to this, which is called optical I/O, which is actually reducing electricity usage within the computer with up to 90%, which is a very fantastic thing, and moving the Moore's law into the next generation stuff. So look them up, very interesting company, and all the big guys are throwing money at them, even in this situation that we are in right now. So what is the most important focus for us right now? Yes, of course, move customers into volume production. It's been a bit challenging due to the pandemic, but we are seeing that. We saw 100% growth almost. Of course, top-line sales in general as well is really important now to show that we actually can move that in the right direction. Securing the next step for these Fortune 100s we've been working with, and of course adding more Fortune 100s as we did today, and also keep on building the ecosystem. And we have a quite interesting, or a lot of interesting partnerships coming in the future as well. And also, of course, securing more NRE projects like we did today with the Fortune 100, but also to secure the next wave of customers after the wave we're seeing now starting from the second half this year. So to summarize a bit about the company here, so we're off to a great start. Q1 grew almost 100%. We have done the transformative acquisition, and soon we'll also tell you more in a press release about what we're doing with Mixcom and how the integration is going. And we hope to do that before the summer. And all the good things about now being a US company with office in the US as well. We got our first order for 5G in this year, $2.1 million, which is sort of starting growing. We have the 43 design wins. We're moving more and more of those into volume in second half. We have 2 Fortune 100s, I'm saying here, but it's actually 3 now, which is really interesting. We have a great position now in the US with the transformative acquisition as well, and the US is going to be the market that drives all of this technology that we are working with. We also now have interesting US investors on that side. For example, Kairos Ventures, who is actually one of the companies that came in via the acquisition. We're now in a much larger total addressable market than we were before, with Satcom customers, Metaverse, Silicon Photonics, to mention one company in South Korea, Cremo, who are doing consumer electronic applications with antennas and so forth, which we can use for 5G. So all of that is now sort of transforming the company a bit into more consumer as well, and larger volumes in that sense. We still have a very great mix of shareholders. We have the third APIF pension fund, we have Swedbank, AMF, and other long investors only, which is very good in this market that we are right now, and still have a very good cash position, 156 million in the bank in the end of Q1. So that's all for now, and thank you so much for listening in.
Thank you. Very interesting. Let's start with the breaking news today, the order that you just recently landed. Can you tell us a little bit more? When do you think you're going into production with this, and how are you going to produce it, and where, and so on and so forth?
So if we look at the order, first of all, this is an NRE that we will deliver during this year, is the plan. So all that 6 million SEK is sort of going to be delivered. We plan to produce these things in our factory in Glasgow for this year. When the volume comes, of course, we don't know yet in that sense. But I think we normally say that it takes 2 to 4 years to get the product out to the market. I think this project is probably closer to the 2 than the 4, because this is for a next generation product in that sense. So they know what they're doing, and it might not be as much research in that sense. So, and a very exciting application area.
It's interesting that you landed the third Fortune 100 customer now. You have had the 2 other ones for a long time in the books, so to speak, not really in the books, in the financial books, but in I think in the books of people's mind here. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of these 2 Fortune 100 customers? Where are they, and how also a little bit on how well in advance you will have an idea when the volume production is actually going to ramp up?
Yeah. So let's start with the first Fortune 100, which we signed in after summer or October 2018, I think. So it's sort of 3.5 years now. And yeah, so that customer, we started out with one project. We've then got multiple projects over time. They really liked what we're doing. And one sort of interesting point is actually the people that work with that project is actually with the Fortune 100 we won now. So that's why we sort of won this business. So it's sort of word of mouth in a way, and people that likes us, that works with us. So we have been sort of getting the technology more and more mature, and they are working on their side, of course, there's a lot of things that needs to work, and this is a consumer electronics company, so it takes some time. And of course, we've said 2 to 4 years normally. With the pandemic on top, I think that's adding time in general. When it's going to happen, we don't really know 100% for sure, and we don't even know if it's going to happen with us in that sense, but we're, of course, hoping. I mean, investing $12 million into it says something. But we probably know something like 12 to 18 months beforehand the volume comes, because we need to start building up capacity and so forth.
Turning to the first quarter report, that was on a lot of measures positive. I think I felt that the tone in your presentation and in the writing was very positive. You felt very confident. It seems like you have kind of climbed the ladder a little bit in becoming a more trusted supplier. Can you explain a little bit how the discussions with potential customers now going, and how they view you as a supplier in the
So I mean, we live in unprecedented times with pandemics, war, and going on. I mean, all of that has made things very unclear for everybody, and then the investors don't know what to do and so forth. But in general, I think that I've been now, open up in the US. I've been to the US 3 times just the last 6 months with the acquisition of Mixcom, having a lot of very interesting discussions. And I think that the transformative acquisition connects everything together, so we're now becoming sort of a larger supplier with the right type of foundation in the US and the rest. And having all of those discussions and having, of course, this type of Fortune 100 in the back, things happening, it feels very positive. And this is just one thing that happened today, but we're seeing a lot more things will happen now. And the change in the mindset of the customers, and specifically all of these things we're working with are not sort of only things that will be for a short while. I mean, everything from satellite communication to broadband to the home to all of these things with self-driving cars and everything. That's like water and electricity for people. So that's something that's going to happen. And I feel that more and more now. But we've been in an insecure period, but being out there, meeting customers face to face again, makes it really a good impression for us, I think.
It seems like there is a lot of focus on the US right now for your business. Is it so that the US has really become the true market for you now, and acquisition is adding to that perspective?
Absolutely, and with the war and West versus East, there was sort of a new wall have come up in a way, and I think that sort of clarifies things for us and makes it very clear now that the focus is US and Europe, like China and Russia and all of those things will be on hold for quite some time, I think, and I'm really happy that we have most of our business now then in the Eastern or the West Europe and the US, and also for the last 10 years since Android and Apple and all of those things took over, US has been the driver for all technology, in good and bad in a way, but that's really helping us now, and also, as I'm saying over and over again, this is transformative for us to have this company locally getting all the sort of connections we need to have within the ecosystem, and we'll tell you more about that in the press release, why this integration is so important for us.
Interesting. Over to the Q1 report, little bit of nitty-gritty details. The growth was very strong. What would you say was the driving force behind that growth? Was it a single customer ramping up, or was it just a more broad-based?
No, I think it's more of a broad base. I mean, we have a lot of design wins now, and more, and also getting Mixcom into it and everything. So more customers means that even if it's sort of not one buying a lot, but more customers buying some, and that's been really important for us. So I think that's a wider stance to behold, and that's also my confidence in a way, seeing that all customers are now buying, even if they're not buying a lot, they're buying some, and that sort of gives us a fundamental growth that we can lean back on. And of course, like that 8 devices was an important order for us, the 5G order, the first larger 5G order of about 20 million SEK. So all of that is important.
Another part of the Q1 report was, and that was highlighted in conference call by several people, was that the net working capital were quite negative. Is that, do you think that was a true one-time effect and that will reverse a bit over the year, or should we expect those kind of big outflows from the net working capital?
Not, I mean, one big effect was, of course, that we took the sort of advisor cost in Q4, but the actual payments happen in Q1. So all of that is, of course, connected. I think it was 35 million. And then, of course, 200 million out for the acquisition in cash to Mixcom. So, of course, that's not going to be the case going forward. I think we're going to be more normalized. And I think the market, in general, the research had higher or lower expectations when it comes to how much cash we would burn in OPEX and so forth. And we've been able to be quite lean on that front, I think, with the acquisition. So there are some synergies, and I'm going to tell more about that, of course, in the press release later on.
Okay. That was all for me. Maybe we should also clarify that the 5 billion you mentioned is $5 billion.
Oh, yes. 50 billion SEK.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's a huge market. And also, I mean, which I didn't say in that, is that looking at, for example, the LiDAR market, we seeing much more sales than Joel is actually predicting. So I think it's a very early phase for Silicon Photonics. So not even the sort of research companies even know how large this could be. Datacom, they know, and I don't think they actually including optical I/O in Datacom yet. So there is a lot of things that needs to sort of be updated, but that will come.
Interesting markets you're present in. Thank you very much, Anders, for this presentation.
Thank you.
And that ends the presentation for today.